Thanks for tuning in to the David Ray Global Rock Show right here on DAS Global Rock Radio. Also Global Rock Radio right there in Melbourne, Australia. Thanks to the Funk Man. And tonight I told you I'd have Rik Fox back on, and also I got Kevin Reye of the band White Lies. So what's up, guys?
How you doing, man?
Doing great, man. Doing great. Had a long day today, but we always make it to make these shows rock, brother. So that's what it's all about. Keep this music alive, man.
Glad to be back again.
Heck yeah, brother. Good to have you back. Well, what are you guys up to? I mean, you guys, I've seen you on stage before. You guys been doing a little work together here in the recent months.
I ran into Rik. It goes back way in history. Back when Rik was in Steeler with Yngwie Malmsteen and Ron Keel. I had my band TRIIX at the time, which turned into White Lies, the current band. We did some shows with Rik and Ron Keel and Yngwie and those guys back in the day. And we did a show last June at the Whiskey. It was Ron Keel doing the show, and my band White Lie was direct support for him. And Rik came in and did a couple killer old Steeler tunes, and we kind of reconnected at that show. And then we talked a little bit afterwards and kicked it around that Rik wanted to get in and start playing again, and so we hooked up, and he's been doing some shows with us, and it's been a lot of fun.
Heck yeah, man. And it's good to see you back out there too, Rik, man, back on stage, man, doing what you love.
Yeah, you asked me what I was up to. I'm up to about 6 feet. Kevin's a little taller. Although I'm shrinking as I get older.
Well, I mean, it's got to be cool for you guys to be sharing the same stage. I mean, you went from Black Sheep on to playing Michael Bolton, Kevin. I mean, you've done a lot of great stuff as well as Rik, man.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of cool when you have another player who's, been around the block and toured and on published and done some records. And it's really good to get somebody like that that's got experience in the scene and nationally, just like I have, and so it's been fun for us. I mean, We're having a blast.
Well, I mean, for you, I mean, I've never had you on the show, so I mean, for the folks that don't know you, I mean, give them a little history about the things you have done, man. I mean, this is your first time, so I mean, I think it'd be great to let these great folks know kind of a little bit about yourself, man.
Sure, Dave, and I totally appreciate the invite and having me on the show. I really appreciate that.
Yeah,
brother.
Man, that's what it's about, man. We got to keep music alive. I mean, it's been kind of dead here recently. I mean, but it's just trying to keep that flag going, man. And I really truly believe that's what you guys are out there doing. Yeah,
you're speaking to the choir with me and Rik. I mean, we're definitely out there, trying to keep music alive, original music alive, and the stuff that hard rock and the metal that came up through the 70s and 80s and 90s is just some killer music that's going to live forever. I mean, everybody talked about metal being dead back when grunge came out, and I told everybody, it was bullshit.
Right.
Yeah, Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin, and everybody else that's going to be alive forever. It's great music.
Right.
But I started in the scene, probably 1978. And in the scene here in LA, more focused on the Orange County circuit, which is kind of a sub circuit of the LA strip scene. And by the time about 1980, I was already playing the strip and in a band called TRIIX. And TRIIX did a whole bunch of shows back then with everybody from Steeler to WASP to Poison to Warrant to Rat to Great White, just a hell of a bunch of shows back in the early days before all the stuff broke in the mid-'80s.
Right.
And from my time in Orange County with TRIIX and White Lie, I ended up hooking up with Willie Bass in Black Sheep.
Wow.
We had a killer run. And in fact, it led to the Enigma deal that had the first Black Sheep record, which was in 1985.
Right. Yeah, we had Willie on last night as well.
Yeah, really is a great guy. I've known him for years, and I played with Willie for a while, and we had it cooking with gas, and then I got the call, actually not a call, but Michael Bolton was in the audience one night, and he came up and signed me on the spot, and what had happened is Bruce Kulick, who was a guitar player for Kiss for quite some time, was actually Michael Bolton's guitar player at the time.
Oh, okay.
What happened was Kiss had pulled Bruce Kulick from Michael Bolton, so Michael Bolton pulled me from Black Sheep, and so I went on tour with Michael Bolton. I can be seen on it's a 1985 video, Everybody's Crazy, and that was in the MTV rotation for 2 or 3 years, so about 87, 88. And funny enough, the video showed up on Beavis and Butthead, and I think that's when people said, "Dude, you made it. You've been clowned on Beavis and Butthead." And so the Bolton video that I'm in, the Michael Bolton video that I'm in, was on Beavis and Butthead, and they were making fun of him because by that time he had become a pop singer, and they weren't sure what to do with this rock video from Michael Bolton.
Right. Right, and that's something a lot of folks that maybe don't really dig deep in the roots of music. I mean, he was actually a rocker before he went on to be a pop artist.
That's exactly right. He started it back in Rick's territory, back east, in a band called Blackjack with Bruce Kulick, in fact.
Wow.
Popular back in the late 70s, and Bolton got signed to a lead solo band thing, and he brought Bruce Kulick with him, and it was a Michael Bolton band, and it was hard rock. We had the drummer was from Johnny Winter, the bass player was from Lita Ford. It was me on guitar and Michael Bolton. It was a quartet that was a hard rock band. It was some pretty good stuff.
Wow.
I remember Blackjack.
Blackjack was Bolton. That was Michael Bolton.
I didn't know he was in that band.
Yeah, that was him. That was him and Bruce Kulick. That was their entry into the scene.
Yeah, I was back in New York that time, I think.
Yeah, it was, and they were East Coast. They were a tri-state area. Bolton came out of Connecticut, but where they performed was in Jersey and New York. Yeah, in the late 70s, you would have been seeing them.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember hearing the name around New York.
Yeah, and that's funny enough. That's how Kiss found Kulick to take him out of Bolton. It's because they were from the same scene. Bolton, believe it or not, at one point, actually was really good friends with Kiss, and that's how they found Kulick.
I remember the joke about that. Bob used to say, people would ask, how do you know the difference between the Kulick brothers? And Bob would say, I'm the one with the mustache.
One's bald. That was my thing.
The mustache is the kicker.
Wow.
Yeah, for folks who don't know, Bruce's brother, Bob, is who Rick's talking about, is a pretty well-known, producer, engineer, and all kinds of different things within the scene. So the two brothers, the Kulick brothers, have been around for a while.
Yeah. Wow. Very interesting. And, I mean, you went on and played with Michael. I mean, what did you do after that?
After Michael, I formed a band called Network, and this is another interesting story. I mean, every band I've been in has some kind of interesting story. Because even when I was in Black Sheep, when I left to go to Michael Bolton, the guy that he brought in to replace me was none other than Paul Gilbert from Racer X.
Right.
And the guy that I replaced, funny enough, was Mitch Perry, who went on to go play with Billy Sheehan in Tallis.
Oh, Lord.
Yes, and the guy that Mitch Perry replaced was actually George Lynch. So there's Willie has got a whole pedigree of killer guitar players that he's had, and there's a whole story. And then after Paul Gilbert, it was Kurt James, which I believe also played with Steeler at one point.
Wow.
It's incestuous.
There's a whole incestuous background, but that's how that whole thing happened. So after leaving Black Sheep and going to Michael Bolton, I came back into L.A. and formed a band with Drew Forsythe, who's the original drummer from Quiet Riot. He's the guy before Frankie Banali. He's the guy that's on the original EP with Randy Rhoads.
Okay. Wow.
So we had an all-star band going there called Network, which is really a great band. And it was a typical L.A. thing where, you had a band that was pedigreed with all these killer players on it, and, we had all kinds of deals present, and we had a lead singer that we just couldn't keep on track. We got signed. About the fourth time this happened to me, we got signed, and our lead singer goes nuts and disappears for 2-3 weeks to a month.
Oh, Lord. You couldn't find him?
No, he went on some kind of drug binge, and he basically couldn't handle success. Every time we got to the altar to sign the deal, he would go nuts and disappear.
Wow.
So after that, I formed a band in Orange County called Power Squadron. We did the record out with Mike Raines and Paul Flame and a couple guys here in Orange County. And then after that, I went to a band called Fortress. Fortress was a killer band. It was kind of an Armored Saint type band. In fact, Armored Saint was our neighbors at a rehearsal studio.
Oh, okay.
And we were both kind of that heavy Dio-like Judas Priest-like, Gothic. We all had like knights in armor and boots and leather, all that
Right.
stuff. But it was a great band. We had a full castle stage, so when you came to see us at a show, all you saw was a big castle. You're like, what the hell is this? Our bridge would open up, and we'd come out of the drawbridge. Our drum set would roll out onto the drawbridge, and we would perform a Kiss-like show. We'd have, smoke bombs and flap spots and lasers and smoke and fire. It was pretty cool.
Right.
And we did a record in Fortress. We were signed to Negi Management at the time, which is Wendy Dio, who was handling Rough Cut as well, which is Paul Sortino, Dave Alford, and all those guys. And we went on till about 1990 or so, and that's right around the time when grunge started popping up. And basically, if you were a hard rock, heavy metal band out of L.A., by the time it was 1990 or 91, there's no way you were getting signed.
Right. Right. It kind of went toward the Seattle scene there for a little bit.
It did.
Yeah.
And then, so that kind of took over, the grunge scene took over from probably 1991, 92 to about 1995, 96, and then it died out and metal came back into play. And I actually formed a project called the Monster Project, which is a solo project. And it had Paul Carmen, the bass player from Leatherwolf, playing on it. It had a guy we call Drum Sweat, Chris Silva, playing drums from Fortress. And we got signed to Capitol. And it was that same lead singer.
He come back, huh?
Yeah, we got a spec deal. He's a great singer, by the way.
Right.
We haven't been able to find him in 20 years, but he was an awesome singer. He looked like David Lee Roth, sounded like Bruce Dickinson, and the chicks dug him.
Oh, cool, man.
And we went up to the altar again, got a spec deal out of Capitol for my solo record, and right when we got to the altar and we were supposed to start delivering tracks, my lead singer disappeared, so I had to shelve my solo project.
Damn.
After that, I went on to a band called Boxcar, which is an Orange County Music Awards winning band, real popular band, more middle of the road. And then around 2009, I reformed the 80s band White Lie, which was, like I said, started way back in about 1980. And we've been running for the last 3 years, doing some great shows with bands like UFO, YNT, Quiet Riot, Dokken, just the list goes on. And we've been having a great run. And that's when I ran into Rik at the Whiskey Show with Keel. And we're still playing. We're playing with Uli Roth during NAMM.
Oh, cool.
January 25th at Malone's, and Rick's playing on that show, too.
Okay.
That's what we got kind of coming up next.
Heck yeah, man. So it's kind of like two rock stars are putting two parts into one thing. That's cool.
Yeah, it's the old two heads are better than one, right?
Hey, that's right. Well, guys, why don't we jump off into a song and we'll come back.
When Kevin and I are on stage, and you got two veterans like that up there, you just look at each other and we know who we are, we know what we're doing, and we just see that look in each other's eye that's just like, you know what, this is fucking cool, this is magic,
Right.
And it's funny is there's no words to what he just said. Just a look. You just look at each other. He hits a note. I'm playing a lead or whatnot, and look at each other, and it's just all said in the look.
Yeah, man. Very cool, man. And it's really good to see Rik back out there playing, man, because when I interviewed him the very first time, he wasn't really playing in any bands, but he was down for it, and it was cool to see him go out there and play with Kill, man.
I agree, and in fact, since he's been playing again, a lot of Rick's fans, have been, waiting for something to happen and waiting for Rik to do something, and they just are really excited about Rik playing again, and they've come out and shown support. They're on Facebook, online. A lot of the Rik Fox fans are really digging this.
Yeah, man, and I have to give him big props, man. If you go over to his new website, man, he's got my link up there, man, and that's just wow, it's really appreciative. Towards me,
Together,
we're all in this together.
Yeah, man.
Right.
Well, why don't we play this song and I'll come back with you guys. This is Fire Burning in Me. Can we get a little insight on it, brother?
Yeah. Fire. I actually wrote this back when I was in Fortress, and it's a killer driving song, double kick, power song. It's got a great solo in the middle of it that's just, got some Van Halen, some Michael Schenker, some George Lynch type feel to it.
Cool.
But fire burning in me is just that drive you have. It's just that, when you got that angst, that drive where it's just burning in me, man. I got to get this out. I got to prove it.
Hell yeah.
Get out there.
Well, all right. Hey, anybody can pick this up. Where can they pick it up at, brother?
Actually, they can hit me up on my website and on my Facebook page. I've got the original Fortress record that has this on it, and as well as I'm putting together a new White Lie record that's in the works as well that'll be out shortly.
All right, cool. Well, all right, man, I'll be right back with you guys. Please check out White Lies, and this is called Fire Burning in Me. You can only find it right here on the David Ray Global Rock Show. thanks for tuning in to the David Ray Global Rock Show right here on DAS Global Rock Radio, also Global Rock Radio. And, guys, that was White Lies, fire burning in me. Also, I got, Rik Fox on tonight as well as Kevin Ray. What's up, guys?
How you doing, brother? By the way, it's White Lie. There actually is a band called White Lies out of England.
Oh, okay. My bad, brother.
No worries. I just wanted to make sure you didn't get any hassles from the White Lies camp.
Well, I mean, it's really cool to see you guys come together. I mean, how many songs are you guys doing together?
Oh, we got a whole set planned for
the whole set
that covers the gambit. We've got some heavy-hitting heavy metal tunes. We've got a blues tune. We've got a ballad tune. We've got some straight-ahead, just pumping 4/4 rock stuff. So we've got a whole set planned.
Well, I mean, for you, Rik, I mean, it's been a few years since you've played. It's back on the stage now. I mean, how does that feel for you, brother?
Oh, man. You know, if you had asked me, are you excited, I have an answer for that.
Well, what is that answer, brother?
Like the French when Lindbergh landed.
Wow. So,
if you know what that was like, if you're, well, you wouldn't know what it was like, but news-wise, when Lindbergh landed in France, the whole country went upside down because he's the first one to fly across the ocean like that. So, in terms of feeling excited to be back on stage, that's hard to put into words. It's just it's like it's like voltage. It just goes right through you when you're on stage. It feels great.
Right. It's more like I always say it's better than sex, man. I don't even care. I mean, it really is.
It's funny that you mention that because it's one of the things I've told people. They go, "What's it like being on stage?" And it's like a cocoon. It's like a cocoon of warmth and bitchiness.
Right.
It's not. Maybe it's up there with sex, but a good woman and some good sex, that's hard to beat.
I hear you. Well, I'm just saying, man, it's that feeling of it's like a brotherhood, and it's just like a machine that you're bringing on stage, man, and everybody's doing their part. I mean, there's a lot of uniqueness to that, especially to people that don't know how to play instruments. I mean, you guys are some of the best, and I will tell anybody, from the 80s, especially that era, you cannot touch those guitar players that were up there on stage, man. These bands nowadays just don't do that, man. And you guys were a huge part of that.
I agree with you 100%. Didn't mean to cut you off there, but I agree with you 100% that some of the players that are from the 80s are just phenomenal. And the guitar players, you're talking guys that are inspired by Michael Schenker, Eddie Van Halen, George Lynch, just guys who can really bring it. And the classic guitar player that came out of the 80s is just phenomenal. And the 90s kind of killed it with the grunge thing, with the so anti-guitar. There was no leads. You had Kurt Cobain playing lead guitar. And it's just not even the same world. And what I'm so happy about is around 2000, 2002, heavy metal started coming right back in full force. Globally speaking, and in Europe, it's huge still. It never got taken down a notch by grunge like it did in the U.S. And all that stuff is back. And I hear bands like Avenged Sevenfold or Alter Bridge, and you hear the shredding guitar, and it's like, yeah, brothers, you're bringing back the old school.
Right. Yeah, man, there's a few bands out there that still represent that style of playing guitar, but it's not like it was back then. These guys I remember when you thought of a band in the 80s, you knew everybody. They were their own character almost. You knew everybody in the band. You knew them by name. And nowadays, it's like you see a band and, hell, you don't know who the bass player is or the lead guitar player is by name. I mean, it's not like it's not like a rock star anymore to me.
Yep. Yeah, I think you're right.
I mean, that's the truth. I mean, there's a lot of great guitar players out there that don't get the credit, I believe, too, as well, because of that. And it has to do with a lot of the record industry going the way it has, and a lot of other things, too, as well.
I agree with you. The thing that there's a lot of hope going on because, again, a band like Avenged Sevenfold, they're young guys out of Huntington Beach, the same town I'm from and I'm at right now.
Right.
And they're young guys in their 20s, and they're playing some shredding guitar. I mean, if you listen to Avenged Sevenfold, listen to the two guitar players on there. They played just like, Michael Schenker, Yngwie, and they pay homage to all these guys. And,
yeah, definitely.
Big guitar players. Then you got Mark Tremonti doing Alter Bridge with Miles Kennedy. And if you listen to some of the guitar work he's doing, it's just phenomenal.
Definitely.
But it's out there. You just got to look a little deeper in the stacks.
Well, it's just the public's not taking rock like they used to, especially in the 80s, man. I mean, I remember growing up in the 80s and every rock magazine that come out, dude, I was buying it because I wanted to know more about it. Nowadays, they don't even sell magazines like they used to, bro. I mean, it's not like it's a popular thing anymore.
I think Rick hit it on the head. The market's changed, so what you see big and bold out front is now a diversified market. And the magazines are still around, by the way. In fact, one of my good friends is Dave Castagno. He runs Radio Screamer. You remember Screamer magazine back in the day?
I'm not sure.
It's, you know,
I do.
Remember Screamer? You had Kerrang, you had Screamer, you had all the channels.
Yeah, I was in Screamer a few times. I was wondering if there was an affiliation between the radio and the magazine. I'm trying to get on there.
It's him. I'll introduce you to him. Yeah, it's David Castagno. He was the guy behind the magazine. He's still around, and he's actually got a radio show as well.
Awesome.
Wow. And I did an interview with that. I did an interview with so recently. It's on his website. You can read the archives, but it was with Chris Holmes.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
Yeah, we had him on last night as well.
Yeah,
you know, Chris touched on something last night that was related to what Kevin and you were saying, in that, you know, the market, and what we just said, the market's changed here. The taste in music, the kids, the rock kids now are not, you know, they're not being exposed to what was the magic back then. And it's why one of the reasons Chris is going to Europe, because that market is still huge over there. They're a little behind the times, and they're, you know, everything old is new again. So the 80s is like going crazy over there in Europe, but over here, you know, you have bands like Kevin said, Sevenfold or whatever, that are musically imitating or paying homage to the heroes of the 70s and 80s. However, it's only half the message. It's like nobody's got the guts to get up there and have an image either.
Right.
Oh, and image is in marketing, and that's half of what you're throwing out there. Look at like with Kiss. It wasn't just music; it was a show, and nobody does shows anymore. It's like they'll play a show, but they don't put on a show.
Right. They don't put the effort in as, you know, say, I mean, Poison or somebody from the 80s that actually had stuff blowing up and cool stuff, man.
Right.
They don't put the effort. I understand that.
They are out there. I mean, if you go to see a band like Alter Bridge or Avenged Sevenfold, you do get a big show. In fact, even bands like Nickelback put on Fire and everything else. So it's still out there. You just got to dig a little deeper and have a discerning eye.
Right. Yeah, and it takes a lot of the press too and media to help that happen as well, to get it out to people. The marketing has went down for that as well.
Yeah, and that's, I think, one of the things that's changed significantly with the market. Back in the day, you would have the record company, you know, Warner Brothers or David Geffen or whoever pumping the band and pumping promo on TV, on radio, and you knew about it. It was in the magazines, it was in the paper. That just doesn't happen anymore. The music scene has been cut down as a whole, worldwide, about a third of its size since the Napster days and the pre-download days. There's no more revenue in the industry to power that kind of promotion. So it all happens through grassroots and through internet.
Cool. Well, I got to say this.
Shows like yours.
I just got a message. The guy that actually records our shows, he's recording tonight, brother. And I think he got all of last night's too as well. He's in Barbados, and he's in a band called Standing Penance, and he wanted me to tell you guys what's up, man.
All right.
Oh, Haji.
Yeah, Hanji.
Haji.
So, Haji, what's up, man?
Yeah, man. Yeah, man, he's a real cool guy, man. He stepped in and a lot of the recordings that you get to hear, man, people miss this show. You know, they get to go back, man, and that's something very special that he's been helping me do. I think they're trying to get over here to America, man, and play shows, man. So we're rooting for those guys, man.
Well, by the way, go ahead, Rick.
No, I was just saying thank him for helping out with the recording.
Yeah, man.
I was just going to say that's huge. Archiving these radio shows is huge because actually you get more people listening to it on the archive than on the live broadcast, because you only get, you know, anywhere from 50 to a couple hundred people listening to the broadcast. But when you start cycling around that archive, you get thousands of people listening to it.
Yeah, man. And it gets, you know, it's globally accessible. You know, I mean, you can get there, you can get it.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's totally true. When I did the show on a Radio Screamer with David Castagno, that was broadcast not only on terrestrial radio in Europe and in Australia and just in Asia. I got people calling me from contacting me all around the world hearing that show, especially from the archive, that they're just, it's amazing how much viral this goes once you get that archive out there and it starts going around the internet.
Right. Well, I mean, for you, I mean, meeting Rik Fox, I mean, you've seen him play in Steeler. I mean, he was in WASP. I mean, that's got to be something cool for you. And, like, wow, man, this dude's in my band.
No, it's killer because, in recent years, you know, I'm the one guy that in the band that's usually been around, done records, been on tour, done MTV and all this stuff. And I've got other guys that are good players but haven't been around the block, and they don't always have the same commitment and the same, you know, belief in this. I've been doing this all my life. I couldn't do it if I want. I couldn't stop if I wanted to.
So it's kind of like you were a fan of Rik already before you guys actually met and hooked up and started playing together, huh?
Yeah, we had, like I said, we have ties going back to 1982, 83.
Right, with Steeler together and stuff, yeah.
So, yeah, I've been a huge fan. And, you know, Steeler, in fact, I got to experience Yngwie for the first time at the show that we did together at Radio City. It was TRIIX, my band TRIIX, and it was Rik playing in Steeler. And Yngwie just came fresh off the boat from Sweden. He's actually the same age as I am. And the first time I got to see him, before anybody even knew who he was, and he was doing all the neoclassical arpeggios and all that stuff, and he kept turning around facing the wall so the audience couldn't see what he was doing. kind of like Eddie did in the first early days of Van Halen, when he used to turn around and not let people see he was tapping because he didn't want people to copy it.
Right. Man.
Well, yeah. Meeting Rik again, re-hooking up with him at the Keel show recently was killer.
Well, I mean, Rik, for you, I mean, this has been it's been really cool to see you back on stage. Of course, we've said that, but I mean, it's been many years. I mean, like, it feels good. You gonna stick with it, brother?
Well, I certainly hope so. As long as I'm able to get up out of bed every day. And, you know, a daily day above ground's a good day.
Right.
You know, when I was with Steeler and we opened for Quiet Riot at Perkins Palace. This is right when Mental Health broke to number 1.
Mm-hmm.
And we walked out on stage, and it was like beyond capacity. It was like they only hold like X amount of 700-800 people, I think, legally, and it was like over 1,200 people in there. And I walked out on stage. That was like, at that point, the largest audience I think I ever played in front of. And I went, man, if you could just put what this feels like into a capsule, then
I know.
And you can take that with a glass of water, somebody would then be able to feel what that feels like. You know, I think the closest thing is probably ecstasy.
Oh, yeah.
That's a great, Rik.
On that stage, you know, and then with Sin, we played the LA street scene, and it was like now you're playing to as many people can fill an entire city block street from one end to the other. Building to building, one corner traffic light all the way down to the next. It's just an ocean. It looks like worms. You know, to be on stage in front of that many people is like, you know, that's just a fraction of what it's like to play South American gigs. You know,
right.
100,000, 300,000, 400,000 people. You can't even see the back. I mean, but the feeling is still the same. So you can still carry that feeling with you, even on a stage as small as some of the shows have been doing now. And you know, not maybe half a house. You know, it's like Gene and Kiss used to say, no matter what show you're playing, it's Madison Square Garden, no matter where it is or how many people are in the house or not in the house.
Right.
Madison Square Garden. You play like it's your life.
Yeah, but what I was saying, that's cool. You answered my question. That we're going to be getting more music out of you, and that's something I think that's special, man.
Well, yeah, it's a great feeling, man. It really is, you know. And I hope to do as much as I possibly can.
Heck yeah, man. Well, and I understand that too, man. You make the because you got to give your best every show, whether there's one person or two people, or 12,000. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You know, I try to live in Ronnie James Dio's shadow. I aspire to his greatness and how he treated the fans. You know, if I could be like one miniature percent of what he was to his fans, you know, then I've done my job. If I can do better, that's even better.
And that's cool, Rik. I mean, you actually got to meet Ronnie, man.
Yeah. When I was in Bern, I met Ronnie, and I was around the Niji management crowd when I was in Bern. So, and it was.
Funny, you mentioned Niji, Rick. Niji was the one who was picking up Fortress, and so I got to meet Ronnie and Wendy, and they came down to a couple of our shows. It was funny. We did a big show at the Waters Club down in L.A., and Ronnie came up in his limo and checked out the show, and he's just the nicest guy. I mean, nicest guy you'll ever meet.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard anything really bad about Ronnie James Dio, man. Like, there was no publicity of bad anything. Everything was always good, man. I think he had a good heart.
Positive guy. He has a positive guy, really good heart. He had a hell of a voice.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
I mean, the work he did in Rainbow and in Sabbath and in Dio, and it was just killer work. He was always a positive dude, and there was nothing negative coming out of the guy. So, I mean...
I kind of look at him like he inspired the guys, kind of like Sebastian Bach or somebody like that, because, I mean, that voice and seeing somebody like Sebastian Bach sing... You know, it's like, wow, he carried that flag on to someone else.
Yeah. He basically is an icon to rock vocalists. I mean, Dio is up there with any of them. I mean, everybody from Rob Halford to Robert Plant. I mean, you pick whatever lead singer that's iconic, that defined what a rock singer is, and Dio's right up there.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
And, you know, it's sad he passed away, man. I mean, he put his mark in rock and roll there, I can tell you that.
I think his spirit still hangs around the Cat and Fiddle.
He's an amazing dude. In fact, the night that he passed away, the night before, we were doing a show, White Lie was doing a show with YMT.
Oh, yeah.
And it was May 2010, I believe. And it was the middle of May, and it was that night we did a show, and we closed that night with Long Live Rock and Roll. We did a tribute to Ronnie as our closing song before YMT came on. And it was only a couple hours later, you know, we were just getting out of backstage and everything, and we started to hear the news broadcast that he had passed away. It was kind of weird because we'd just done a tribute to him just a few hours before.
Oh, man. That is wild.
Yeah, it is. And people were like, how did you know? Like, I didn't know.
Right.
I had no clue. I mean, I knew he was
it was just
sick.
coincidence.
I knew he had stomach cancer.
Right.
But, you know, I didn't know, you know, when he was going to pass away. We just happened to, a few hours before he passed away, do this show with YMT, and we closed it with Long Live. It just got, I mean, it was a standing ovation when we were done. It was a coach house down in L.A., and it was a sold-out show. It was probably, you know, 500 people there. And we closed with Long Live, and it just got everybody on their feet. I mean, that song epitomizes what we're talking about. The song Long Live Rock and Roll epitomizes what we're talking about, keeping the music alive.
Right. Well, I mean, Rick, I wanted to ask you something as well. The last time you were on, we did a long interview. We had talked about you had a TV episode out. Are you still doing that?
TV episode?
Oh, it was something. It was being broadcast up in Canada or something.
Oh, yeah. That was Museum Secrets for the History Channel out of Canada.
Right. Are you still doing that?
It was just that one episode, you know, because they go from different museum to different museum, and when they see something cool, they go, let's do a show about that, and they research it and program about it. So when they were at the National Museum there in Moscow, they saw the suit of winged hussar armor, and they said, "What the hell is that?" And the curator told them about it, and they said, "Man, we get back to the States, or you know, at least to the Western world. Let's look that up." And they did, and they told me they researched it on the internet. And they said, you know, we looked at a few different people who were doing this, and we feel you're the guy that represents it the best. So we'd like to know if you'd like to do a program with us about it. And I said, sure. We worked out the details. They came down here from Canada, with you know, and they hired a local crew, and they shot at our ranch. And I've got it on DVD, and you know, and you know, the bad part is they didn't. They're not going to continue with season 4, and they said they can't show season 3, which I was the premiere episode of, until seasons 1 and 2 have completed. Now in the States, it shows on the Smithsonian Channel, but I've been watching, and I haven't seen it listed on the Smithsonian Channel, so I don't even know if they're still carrying the show. So a lot of people won't see it, you know. But I mean, I have a clip of it on YouTube, you know, just a small clip. But that a friend of mine, Vicky, up in Canada, she videoed it with her cell phone and put it up on YouTube. So that's the only way. It's not a really clear copy because it's with the cell phone, but we're working on getting a clearer copy, maybe on my website. But yeah, it was not like I wasn't going to be on the entire show. It was just that one episode. So,
right.
But I was happy to do it because it's the first time it's ever been done in the English language and with respect, all the due respect and respect to the Polish people and keeping that national historic memory alive in a positive way. So I was real happy to be chosen for that.
Right, and that's that's really cool, man. To see you back on TV. I think the last time I'd seen you was with the Driven stuff on the Cruise stuff, and that was cool that you got represented to talk about Motley Crue as well. I think we talked about that a little bit last night as well.
Yeah.
So. Hell yeah. Well, why don't we play some Sin, man? I got On the Run. I'd like to play that. Give me some insight on that, Rick.
It was originally written with my first LA lineup of Sin. We were rehearsing at and Kevin, you might remember this. We were rehearsing at a place in Downey. There was a rehearsal place run by, and I can't think of his name now. Holy cow! Famous guy. He used to come out of a coffin on stage. Oh damn! I can't think of his name. We were rehearsing at this guy's studio, and the guitar player was just like noodling around, and he played like this little, one or two chords. And I said, "Hey, that caught my ear. Play that again. Repeat it over 2 or 3, 4 times." And he kept playing it over and over. And I said, "All right, let me set up my tape recorder. Just play that over and over several times and into the tape." And I did. I took it home and I wrote the rest of the song with it from there. And of course, those former members from that first lineup will debate how that song was written. But essentially, I took the tape home, sat where I was sitting to write it, and I wrote the song. I wrote the lyrics and put together most of the arrangement, and took that little bit of a hook and turned it into the whole song. We did a picture disc of it with a shape of the snake and everything on it, which 2 copies were brought to my attention today on Facebook. That it was on eBay. Somebody sold one for $80, and somebody had one sold for I think $20. So if it's a collector's item, anyway. After that lineup, went their way, and I reformed with the guys from Alien. We had an opportunity. Management came in and took us into the studio, and we did album master demos. And Dana Strum was the producer. Dana Strum being the bass player for Vinnie Vincent and Slaughter. But at this time, he was with Vinnie Vincent. And he brought Vinny down to the studio, and he was playing our stuff. What he was doing. He was playing it for Vinny. And I walked in, and he goes, "Hey, how you doing?" And I said, "I remember seeing you when you were learning songs for Kiss over at SIR." And he goes, "That's why you look familiar." I said, "Yeah, you're wearing Ace's lightning boots." I walked into one of the studios. You were in the room that we usually use. And I said, so what are you doing? And he says, "Well, Dana had me come down. I'm listening to your stuff. I really, really, really like it a lot. Hey, there's a song you got called On the Run. I'm thinking maybe sometime up the road we can maybe think about re-recording that and have you come in and be involved." And I said, "What do you mean be involved?" He goes, we'll work that out later." And I went, okay. And that was the last I heard about it. The next thing I found out was that it was on the pre-album demo release for All Systems, was it All Systems Go? It was he took the song, Danny gave it to him. He took the song and turned it into a song called Let Freedom Rock.
Oh man.
Essentially, Vinny ripped off my song, and at that time, I had Fred Corey before he was in Cinderella. Fred came over to my apartment. He was over there all the time, and I played him the tape, and I said, "Yeah, you like On the Run, right?" He goes, "Fuck yeah, that's one of my favorite songs." I said, "Listen to this," and I played him the Vinnie Vincent thing, and he goes, "Oh, dude, you redid a different version of it?" Stopped it, took out the cassette, and I showed it to him, and he saw Vinnie Vincent Invasion. Where he goes, "Dude, you just got taken to the cleaners. Oh my God." And it went back and forth into a battle between me and Chrysalis and Dana. And Dana's going, "Look, man, you can't copyright or trademark a hook." I said, "Well, George Harrison lost on My Sweet Lord because it was too close to He's So Fine by the Chiffons.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, well, you go ahead, sue us. He goes, we'll take you to court, we'll countersue, we'll bleed you dry. You'll never make a penny out of us. He goes, matter of fact, I even told Carmine Appice what was going on. And I'm like, what are you telling Carmine Appice my business? He goes, Carmine said, pay him $1,000, tell him to shut the fuck up. And it was at that point I was no longer friends with Carmine Appice.
Right.
So, but anyway, I have the legacy of that session. And that particular Danish drum-produced version is probably the best to date of the recorded versions of that. We did it in Thunderball, and it came out just as well in Thunderball with one guitar, and instead of two. So it's a fun song to play. It's a guy on his bike, trying to escape the hardships of life. He's going from place to place, and it mentions all the various famous cities around the world that he's going through, and with his bike, and just being a biker on the road and feeling the breeze in your face, and it's a motorcycle song. Essentially, it was my answer to Born to Be Wild. So you can cook that one up and let the fans hear that.
Heck yeah. Well, guys, please check it out. Hey, this is Sin, and that was Rik Fox. And I'll be right back with him and Kevin Reye. Hey, you can only find this great music right here on the David Reye Global Rock Show. Thanks for tuning in to the David Ray Global Rock Show right here on DAS Global Rock Radio, also Global Rock Radio. And I want to thank Rik Fox and Kevin Reye. Got them on the line tonight for being on the show. What's up, guys?
Hey, how you doing, Dave?
Doing good.
Great show so far, man.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you guys taking out the time to do it, too, as well. Kevin, you just had a big birthday bash, brother. And, I mean, you guys were there as well as a lot of the heavy hitters back from the 80s.
Yeah, my birthday's in December, and people have been bugging me for years to put on a jam, because locally in L.A., about once or twice a year, I put on these jams that go 3, 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours long, and basically call up all the old school 80s brothers and have them come out and jam on Black Sabbath, Priest, Maiden, Scorpions, UFO, Sabbath, and we just have fun. And
cool.
They've been bugging me to do one for my birthday for a while. And so I put it on here locally at Malone's, a club here in Orange County. It was December 7th. And had a whole bunch of people come out. Yeah, Pearl Harbor Day. And had Tony Cavazzo from Hurricane come out. It was Michael Oliveri, lead singer from Leatherwolf. David McDonald, the lead singer of Citizen Kane. Rick obviously was on there. Myself. We just had a killer group, Nadir from London, Nadir the Priest.
Nader. Yeah, Nader.
Yeah, Nader. And had Pat McKeon from Max Havoc. All killer musicians and killer singers from back in the day, and we just jammed for about 4 or 5 hours at a club for my birthday, and it was just off the hook, and I had no idea it was going to be that big. And
no, what was amazing was that we never even we wanted to rehearse before we did the show, and I wasn't able to get down to the rehearsal place, and we still managed to pull it off without a rehearsal.
Oh, cool.
And the set list was amazing because we started off with about 50, 60 songs. I mean, if you think about it, 50, 60 songs, that's a lot of tunes.
Right.
We ended up squeezing in about 35, 40, and on each song you got to see Rik Fox, you got to see Nadir from London, you got to see Tony Cavazzo, and just come out and just shred and just play, and everybody was having a good time, and it was just something really special to see. You don't see those many guys in one room in one show, just playing killer tribute songs.
And got to mention Bob Cottrell, man. The guy had a heart attack several days before the show.
Yeah, a good friend of mine from the band called Ruthless, Bob Cottrell, he had a heart attack on Tuesday before the 7th. And he came out and he played War Pigs, an 8-minute Black Sabbath tune, a few days after having a heart attack, with Pat McKeon from Max Havoc on lead vocals. And kicked ass, and just amazing. The guy just came off a heart attack, and it just blew me away, the balls the guy had. But it's an amazing story.
Man, that is crazy. Wow.
He was telling us, look, if it's my time, then at least I'll be, I'll go what I was happy doing. And it's like, Kevin said, and we were having these chats back and forth on Facebook, and Kevin said he looked at Bob looked at Kevin, and they both got a tear in their eye, and he said, look, I just got to do it, and you knew it was either gonna happen, or it was gonna happen some other way, and it happened great, and it was just magic.
Hell yeah.
The night just turned out to be a very magical night, and Bob Cottrell, fresh off a heart attack, going out there and playing War Pigs. 8 minutes long, Sabbath. Down the house, and we played, for about 4 or 5 hours, and like I said, to see Tony Cavazzo up there turning it up on bass, Pat McKeon up there singing, Nadir up there singing, Michael Oliveri from Leatherwolf went up there and sang some tunes. He actually played guitar. He did play lead guitar on Sweet Emotion from Aerosmith. To see him up there doing that. David McDonald, an old friend of mine from Orange County who played and sang for Citizen Kane, goes up there and sings Long Live Rock and Roll, Mob Rules. We did some Stevie Ray Vaughan, Pride and Joy, and David just smoked the house, man. It was just a very special night.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Birthday party, bro.
It was, man.
Something like this back in the 80s would have packed the house in Hollywood.
Right.
Yeah, it would have, for sure.
Well, I mean, how is the Hollywood scene for you guys right now?
I still play there all the time, and in fact, that's where Rick and I hooked up in June playing the Keel show. It's it's kind of weird. It's kind of the same as it was in the 80s in the fact that there's still pay to play, there's still all the politics and all that stuff. But it's really an eclectic scene. You know, one night they'll have somebody really huge in Hollywood, and then they'll be dead for a month. And, you know, and then there'll be some local bands that are just copies of Motley Crue or
you got to pull teeth to get people to come out to the shows now.
Yeah, that's one of the problems with Hollywood. It's hard to get people out there. They just don't. People don't like to go to the Strip anymore. The clubs are shutting down. The key clubs are shut down. I did a cancer benefit in last January with Robin McCauley, Robert Sarzo, Bobby Blotzer, just a whole Leatherwolf, Mandy Lyon, a whole shitload of people. And the place was packed, but within a couple weeks, the key club shut down.
Wow.
Yeah. So they're having trouble in there, and it's part of how the business practices are. They're still doing pay to play. They're still kind of gouging you on the drinks. And the modern consumer, the modern rock fan, they just don't dig, you know, having to pay $15 for a drink and having to drive 100 miles out to a place that, you know, where they're screwing the bands over by doing pay to play. So a lot of these other clubs that aren't doing pay to play, that aren't in Hollywood, that have a $5 drink, that's where the rock fans are going. So they're kind of cutting themselves off in Hollywood.
Right. Yeah, that's ridiculous for a drink.
$15, dude, $15. You know, I'm Irish. I like to have my rum and coke.
Right.
You know?
Wow. Well, I mean, you know, back in the 80s, I mean, a lot of the, you know, to you guys, you didn't know what you guys were creating. To the public people outside of LA, man, it was like this whole scene there, and everybody wanted to go there.
I know. It's like Gallagher used to say in his act, a comedian. Did you ever notice the bigger the crowd, the more people show up? It's true. If everybody says, hey, there's like a really hip happening place to go and a band to see, the word spreads around and everybody shows up. And you know, but now they say, hey, there's a cool band playing at such club, and they're like, oh man, I don't know if I can drive that far, and
I know,
you know, I got stuff to do, and yada yada, and it's like, you know, we're older now. You know, we don't have the piss and vinegar we used to have.
Hey, speak for yourself. I got plenty of piss and vinegar, man.
Well, I'm older than you, remember?
That's true. But hey, I just turned 50. That was what the birthday bash was. I'm not a youngster anymore, but I still got that piss and vinegar for sure.
I wish I could see 50 again.
But I think what's happened is that, you know, Hollywood's fallen off the map because they've been, as you brought it up, back in the day, in the 80s, in the late 70s, all throughout the 80s to like 91, L.A. was the mecca, was the creation point of all of this hard rock, heavy metal that people have come to know and love, from Motley Crue, from Van Halen, you pick it, all came out of the scene.
Even the Doors, I mean, come from that area.
Yeah, and 5 years, 10 years, L.A.'s been atrophying, playing, and they charge the customers too much to drink, and so they just look for something else.
Right. Well, I mean, hopefully, they see this happening. Well,
I hope so, but like I said, we just had the Key Club close. Half the strip clubs are now closed. I think the only things that are open now are the Whiskey and the Roxy.
Right.
And the Roxy's being taken over.
Yeah, the Roxy's being taken over, too. And House of Blues Sunset's even talking about selling or shutting down. So they're not getting it, unfortunately.
Damn.
Squeezing us out, man.
Yeah, and it's the business practices. It's not it's funny, like, you know, Rick and I go and play a show, and you go play one of these shows that everybody says, you know, the fans aren't there or metal's dead. They pack the house, man. When they hear these bands playing, they come out and the place is packed. And they're still coming out to see shows, but you can't do them in Hollywood anymore because places like the Whiskey and the Roxy and Key Club, they gouge everybody and do the pay to play.
Damn. Yeah, and I always hear that. I mean, every major artist I've ever talked to that come out of that area tells me, you know, don't come here if you want, you know, if you're looking to make it in anything, like right now as far as music. And used to, that was the place